Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Elivaras, and welcome to another Brawlstars video where today we're going to be diving into a massive balance patch that just hit the game a few hours ago. Well, at the time of recording this, I think about 5 hours ago. So, in this patch is absolutely massive. About, I think, 17 out of 19 of the brawlers in the game were changed. The only two that were untouched were Brock and Piper. So a massive balance patch, and we're going to see how this shakes up the meta. So let's just hop right into it. We're going to start off with Colt. You're going to see gameplay in the background, so it's not just me scrolling through this news section. I'm going to try and give my thoughts and everything and what's going to result because of these changes. So they say Colt is very versatile and has a high use rate across all game modes. Decreasing his range separates him from the other long-range brawlers, making him sort of a medium-range DPS. Additionally, his star power is too strong, so they decreased his main attack range from 10 to 9, and they decreased his star power speed increase from 100 to 50. So this is going to be really interesting. It looks like they're trying to meld, as they say there, they're trying to mold Colt into the mid-range DPS category instead of the long-range DPS category where he was for a long time on the level of Ricochet and Piper and Brock. He was kind of in that long-range category, and now he's being melded slowly towards a mid-range category, which is going to be interesting. He's still going to be very strong in a lot of places. He's going to still be very strong in bushes and close quarters. When tanks are trying to charge at him, he can still do tons of damage. So I think this isn't too much of a nerf. It's kind of like a shift change for Colt, because Colt is still versatile in every game mode, but this will make him less used on certain maps, like very long range maps. When you think of like Star Gulch and Shooting Star, he's not going to be used as often because he doesn't have enough range. So this kind of makes him a little less versatile, and I think that's a good thing, because you don't want a bunch of brawlers that are like not versatile at all, and then like one or two brawlers that are usable in like every single game mode, are amazing at everything. So this kind of redefines him and makes him kind of a little bit, hopefully a little bit more well-balanced across the board. And his star power speed increase, I kind of agree with this change. I think this is a good change. I think his a Colt with the star power was a little bit too strong compared to a Colt without a star power. Just 100 speed increase is pretty crazy. That's going from normal speed to the speed level of Crow. So I think bringing that in a little bit will help make the gap difference just a little bit easier to manage for a Colt facing a maxed Colt, or anyone facing a maxed Colt. I think that just the gap was a little bit too much. The star power is just a little bit too much of a buff. So this will help rein it in a little bit. So, Darryl had a low use rate in high trophy games and was a little too weak compared to the other tanky brawlers. So they increased Darryl's health and they increased his attack damage. I do think this was necessary. In the short range damage category, Bull was leading the charge completely. Bull was better than Darryl, and Bull was better than Primo in like 95% of circumstances, just because if you get into a short-range scuffle, Bull is able to deal an incredible amount of damage incredibly quickly. Because Darryl has to wait for both his shots to go off to do full damage, whereas Bull only has to wait for one to do a full amount of damage, Bull was able to kill Darryl very, very quickly if they got into a scuffle, and it took longer for Darryl to kill Bull. So I think this health buff and this main attack buff is needed. So now they increased Bo's health from 3,200 to 3,600, and I think this is a good increase. Bo originally, when he was first released, when the game came out, I believe he was in here from the start. He was he was like that range tank, and I think it's really cool to have a little bit more emphasis on that, to kind of put him in a separate category from everyone else. Turn him into a real like hybrid between tank and support is going to be interesting, so I do like this buff. Here they increased Dynamite's attack. I don't know about this. Dynamite was a bit underused compared to Barley, but later on you'll see Barley was nerfed, so I don't think they really needed to increase Dynamite's attack. He was already quite strong. His main attacks already did a ton of damage when both hit, so I don't know if this buff really is justified, but we'll have to see how it pans out if it starts making him OP. I don't think it'll make him OP. It will make him stronger, but I don't know if it was really needed. So El Primo was definitely getting outgunned by Bull, just because it takes a long time for El Primo to deal damage compared to Bull, so if they ever got into a scuffle, Bull would win almost every time, provided he hit his shots. This is going to emphasize El Primo as really the main tank. So if you are really after a tank, you go for El Primo and not Bull. So this increase, I think, was justified as he was getting a bit outgunned by Bull and losing his identity as a brawler. So Jessie, they increased her health and they increased her star power healing. This is a pretty strong buff. So the health buff, I think, kind of was necessary. They mention here that the star power and health buff should help her keep the advantage when her turret is up and running. And yeah, she had low health. She was easily gunned down. She just didn't do much damage. She really relied on her turret, and it was still kind of easy to kill her turret. So I think the star power healing will make her turret a little bit stronger and make her more viable when she gets her turret out. And the health buff is always nice. Just makes her brawler more survivable and makes her stronger as a result. So here, Nita buff. Increased health by 400. Star power healing to 300. Bear speed up. This is definitely necessary. The bear, I think the bear needs to be buffed even further. The bear is Nita's like main mechanic, but most of the time it doesn't do anything. Because the enemy team has a Bull, they have a Colt, they have a Rico. They gun the bear down in like 10 seconds, even less, like 5 seconds. And the bear does nothing because the bear can't get in range in time. So I think this speed buff is definitely needed. I hope there are more buffs along the way because I think Nita's bear is supposed to be the core of her character and it's still kind of underwhelming. But we'll have to see how this works out. So they do also increase her health and increase her star power healing. Star power healing was definitely needed. It was really underwhelming in its current state. So I think this is needed, and the health buff is also welcome as it makes her more survivable. Poco got some buffs, so this was definitely needed. Poco was one of, if not the worst brawler in the game. He was only really good at smash and grab, but even then he wasn't the top of the charts, and and then he wasn't good at almost any other game mode for the most part at high trophy play. So they did decrease his reload time, means he can shoot faster, and they increased his star power healing. So Poco's star power was still pretty underwhelming because it was better than the gives health upon death, but the problem was you really had to have a great emphasis on positioning for you to actually take advantage of his star power. And even then, a 200 health was not much of a reward for having good positioning. So 300 health is definitely a little better. I still think it's a little bit underpowered, but we'll have to see how it pans out. Reload time, though, is nice as it helps him crack out those shots more often, do some more healing, do some more damage. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Spike, the interesting buff. I didn't think they'd really buff Spike, but they did decrease his reload time to 2 seconds instead of 2.2. So a little bit of an interesting change. I think Spike is a very strong brawler. He's very good in a lot of game modes. So I don't know how I really feel about this buff. He did have quite a long reload time, so I think putting it down to 2 seconds kind of standardizes it a bit. And I'm not sure if this was really necessary. We'll have to see how it pans out if he starts to get quite a bit stronger, as he was already quite strong, but I guess only time will tell. We'll have to see this one act out in game, since I don't have Spike, so I can't really say. So Bull. This is a very interesting change. So Bull had a health decrease, and his star power now triggers less. Bull was definitely 100% rocking all other tanks in almost all instances. If they get into a scuffle in the bushes, Bull won almost 100% of the time. He was just so strong. He had such a great ability to deal damage really quickly, and as soon as like the Darryl or Primo got him under 50%, he was able to do it even more quickly. So he was just able to destroy initially at the start, and then as soon as he got hit a few times, he was able to destroy them even more. So he completely won the tank fight, and there was almost no question. Do you take Bull or you take another one? You always take Bull. So decreasing his health a bit will help him stand out a bit from El Primo. It'll put El Primo more in the very tanky category. Bull is a decently tanky, but not on the level of El Primo. And then star power triggering at 40% health. I think, not really sure how this is going to pan out. I think this was a good change, as it'll make him less powerful in 1v1 tank battles. So there you go. Ricochet. Ricochet had a health reduction. I do think this is necessary. So Ricochet is very strong. He's very strong in almost every single game mode. He has a very high skill cap, but if played correctly, he is very powerful. So I think a health reduction of 400 was kind of necessary. He has the longest range in the game. So if you're playing Ricochet correctly, if you're not playing Ricochet correctly, you should get punished for it. He should be very easy to kill because he's got such a long range. Ricochet's not the one supposed to be going in and getting gems or getting the middle star or getting the ball. Ricochet's supposed to be sitting in the back doing boatloads of damage. So this will help more identify him as the longest range character in the game with high DPS, but you have to be very careful about your positioning with him. So I do think this was necessary. So Pam was nearly unstoppable in gem grab. Interesting choice of wording there instead of smash and grab. It should make her more versatile across game modes and less dominant in smash and grab. So basically what they did here was they decreased her healing turret station's heal. So this will make Pam a little bit less sustainable when she's in her healing turret, because along with her star power, it was very hard to kill her unless you had very sustained focus. Decrease the healing station's health, make it a little more easy to kill. Increased Pam's health as a brawler, make her a bit more of a tank. And then they increased the amount of bullets in each of her attacks. Changed from... amount of bullets in each attack changed from 11 to 9. So, basically, there's less scrap being fired, but it moves faster. So this will be interesting. They also decrease her reload time. So basically, this is kind of puts Pam into the character that she was kind of meant to be, I feel. She's supposed to be someone who really just kind of sprays areas constantly and keeps people far away. But with a long reload speed, it's very hard for her to do that, as she sprays once or twice, and she's got to wait quite a while to get that to get those shots back. So this will mean she's able to spray bushes more often. She'll be able to keep constantly putting pressure out, although she won't necessarily be doing as much damage with each attack, with each full attack. Not with they didn't decrease the damage with each screw, but they decreased the amount. And I do think the healing station and the healing station nerfs were necessary, so this makes her a little bit less powerful when she got in her healing station and the enemy team didn't have like a thrower. This makes her a little bit less strong there, but it definitely does increase her viability across more game modes. So Mortis was unstoppable in Brawl Ball, somewhat ineffective in other game modes. I do completely agree with this. Mortis was very strong in Brawl Ball. He was everywhere in high trophy play, almost in every team you would face. I'm talking 400, 500 plus. And basically what happened is they'd just be a stalemate in the center, and as soon as someone died, Mortis would dash and get a goal done. And that's essentially how the game worked. In order to buff him, in my opinion, they needed to fix his ability to self-pass, or else he'd be just overpowered in Brawl Ball. So they decreased his main attack range by 0.66 tiles. But they increased his speed, so he finally got that speed back that everyone was complaining about. They increased his damage by a substantial amount, so he does a lot more damage. And they increased his health. So this is going to be a very interesting change. It's going to make him less viable in Brawl Ball, which I think is necessary. I'm not sure at the moment if it makes him unable to self-pass, but it means he's able to... But the rest of these buffs means he's really able to take advantage of his identity as an aggressor. He's supposed to get up and close and then really just dash through opponents, and like the squishy characters, the Dynamites, the Barleys, the Jessies, the Colts, the Ricochets, Pipers, Brocks. He's supposed to be able to just get in their face and dash through and kill them. So you're really supposed to be trying to keep him away from your team, and the problem was it was hard for him to get through, and when he did get through, he just didn't do enough damage. It took him too long to kill people, so he wasn't able to be that kind of melee range assassin that he was kind of meant to be. So these buffs will help him do that. They did increase it, reduce his main attack range, so we'll have to see how this pans out. I do have Mortis. I'm not a huge Mortis player, so I don't know if I'm able to say whether this is a net buff or a net nerf, because I'll have to see how substantial the attack range decrease was and how much of an effect it has on him. But, yeah, I think it's best to leave this to some of the Mortis pros and see what this will lead to in high trophy play. So, Barley had a very easy time hitting nearby enemies due to his bottles immediately exploding on contact compared to Dynamite. So this was definitely true. It was very easy for Barley to hit people. And he was just he's one of the easiest brawlers to play, because you don't have to worry about walls, you don't have to worry about positioning too much. You just kind of watch where they're going and place bottles around them, and they'll get hit almost 100% of the time. So decreasing his main attack projectile fly should lead to a little bit more countering of his attacks. You should be able to predict where he's throwing a little bit easier. But they did increase star power healing, because I do believe this was necessary, because the star power was super underwhelming. For 1,000 tokens, you got 100 health. that is not very good, considering it took, his reload time's between 1 and 2 seconds. 100 health in that, like, so if you had a reload time of like 1.5 seconds, I'm not sure exactly what his is, but like 4.5 seconds, if you throw all 3 bottles, you get 300 health. Whoopee. That's pretty awful. So this, to justify the 1,000 token cost, this was definitely needed. They decreased Crow's super jump speed. This is a very interesting change. Yeah, this is a very interesting change. I do think it was needed, though. Crow, it was just... Crow was a really good assassin. He'd jump in, get a few hits, kill someone, and then he could just run away, and then he'd almost have a super up already. So decreasing his jump speed a bit will lead to a little bit more countering, as he isn't able to completely hop in and leave you no time to react. This will leave you a little bit more time to react, so it'll make him a little bit easier to counter. But overall, I think this was a needed change, because Crow was still pretty strong for his assassinations. So Tara's super... damage increase 560 to 800. I don't know if this was really needed. Really, the utility in Terra's super isn't dealing damage, but pulling people together and allowing the brawlers on your team to stack everything on top of her super, and then just lay it all down. So she pulls people in, they lay it all down. I don't think her super should really be doing much damage. If they were going to buff it in any way, I feel like... to kind of re-identify her as kind of put her super where it should be, because the current problem with Terra's super is that it sucks people in, but then it explodes and they all get shot back out. So if you're trying to aim where the clump of people is, so if Terra throws her thing down and you're trying to combo with her, it was very hard for you to combo, because you'd shoot at the center, but then everyone would just get shot away, and if you did hit someone, you'd only hit like one person. So I feel like if they were going to buff it in any way, they'd just do the change knockback to like knock up, and they'd remain in position so people would still be able to hit them and combo with her super more and turn her more into that support game-changing brawler. I don't really think the super damage was needed, because it was never really used for damage in the first place. So Shelly nerf. Very popular in high trophy games. This is interesting. I want to know which game modes they're really talking about, because I didn't see her in many game modes. She needed a bushy map, but then she got outgunned by Bull most of the time. So I guess with the recent Bull nerf, this will make her a little bit more viable. So it was an indirect buff to Shelly, but they did increase her star power, decrease her star power slowdown, and I think this was necessary. Her star power is actually ridiculously strong. A 3-second slow is super strong, because you can hardly move at all. It's an extreme slowness buff, or slowness nerf. So you can hardly move at all. It's really easy for people to counter, to kill you while you are after you get hit by a Shelly super. So I do think this was necessary. Your star power is just a little bit too strong, and this will hopefully rein it in a bit. So event balance. They increased the viability of melee tanks like Bull and El Primo. Yeah, so they did do that. It affected the meta and caused a slight advantage for attackers. So they did increase safe health in all maps except GG Corral. I don't really know what to say about this. I don't play Heist much. I'm not a Heist fan at all, but I know that GG Corral is still hard to win as attackers, unless the enemy team makes some huge mistakes. So I'm glad they didn't increase the safe health on GG Corral. Robo Rumble. They increased the health of the second and third boss. I don't know by how much. Don't know. We can't really make any judgments on this, say how bad it's going to be. But they're going to do map adjustments to make luring enemy bots together impossible. So this is going to be interesting. Not exactly sure what the maps look like yet. Well, we won't know because we can't do Robo Rumble in friendly battles. We'll have to see how this shakes things up. Currently, it's pretty easy to get a high score if you get an experienced team and just all sit in one location. You just lure all the bots together, which is not really what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be just kind of fight for your life. You know, everyone's spread out, just trying to gun the endless hordes down as they come forward. So I think this will kind of make Robo Rumble kind of more unique as a game mode and make it a little more fun and challenging instead of just, all right, everyone, get your supers up. Oh, you're just going to stand here. Oh, super. Everyone's super. Okay, we charge the supers up. Wave's dead. All right, next wave. Everyone's super. Blah, 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 blah. And it just, you know, it wasn't very fun and unique and interesting gameplay once you got that into that rhythm. So I do think it was needed. So they did make a lot of changes to 4 maps on Bounty and Smash and Grab. So Cabbage Patch, Mushroom Cave, Bone Box, Terracotta Square. I will have these maps on the screen now. So essentially what they did was they put walls in the middle of the map. I will put the Reddit user who posted this picture, so I didn't take this picture. This was posted by a Reddit user that went into Friendly Battles and took pictures of all these maps and kind of put it together. I will have that link in the description for you all. So you can go up there and look at it firsthand, and so I'm not just kind of just stealing it and not giving credit to the person who put it together. So thank you to that Reddit user, and I will have the link in the description. So yeah, they essentially what they did is they put cover in the middle of all these maps. And in the case of Terracotta Square and Bone Box, they put extra bushes. So the idea is that it's a little bit too easy for long-range brawlers to succeed on these maps that are supposed to be more close-range brawler oriented. There wasn't enough bushes, there wasn't enough cover, so it was still really easy for close-range brawlers to figure out where you were and to really pin fire down on you. So this will make these maps a little bit more close-range oriented, as they should be, I think. In terms of Terracotta Square and Bone Box, I think so. Now, Cabbage Patch and Mushroom Cave changes. Yeah, it's basically just 2 walls in the center. No real changes to bushes. It's going to be interesting. It's going to make long-range brawlers a little less viable. It's going to be harder to use someone like Piper on Cabbage Patch. I love Piper on Cabbage Patch. She's pretty good there. It's going to make it harder because essentially now it's a lot easier for tanks and someone like Mortis and Crow to get further up and challenge you more. It's a lot harder for you to take them out on their way up, and so now they've got more branching cover so they can get closer to you and really pin you into the base. So this is really going to change the map identity. It's going to make throwers more viable too, because there's more walls from the stand behind. It's not that easy to clear all the walls on the map anymore because there's 2 extra walls. So these are going to be interesting changes. I do think they're going to make Piper and Brock less used on these maps. Ricochet and Colt, I think, are still going to be used because there's a lot of great angles for Ricochet still. Ricochet is going to be able to ping shots off those middle walls pretty well. So Ricochet is going to be better on these maps. But the super long-range brawlers like Piper and Brock are going to be less so, and I am a little bit disappointed about this because there's already not many maps that you can use Piper on. It was basically Star Gulch, the new Temple Ruins, Shooting Star, and then you could use her on Terracotta Square and Cabbage Patch. So Terracotta Square and Temple Ruins are both, you kind of need a team for it since you need people to be covering the flanks. And then so you can use her in some situations. If you have a good team with a good team comp, then yes, you can use her there. Otherwise, you just have Star Gulch, Shooting Star, and Cabbage Patch. But now with Cabbage Patch getting those 2 walls in the middle, it's going to be harder to use her effectively. She's going to be okay, decent, because there's no bushes on the side, so it's hard for enemy brawlers to just go in and flank her, which is Piper's biggest weakness, being flanked. So she's still going to be decent, but not as viable. It means it's going to be a lot easier for those Bulls and Primos and Darryls and Crows and Mortises to get closer to you without taking damage. So we're going to have to see how this pans out. We're going to have to play a bit with her on Cabbage Patch and see how it all pans out. But yeah, that is going to wrap it up for this video. All these balance changes. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what you think about the balance changes in the comments. The very interesting balance patch, massive balance patch, tons and tons of changes, and I'm really interested to see where the meta is going to be shaken up from all of these changes, especially the maps. I'm interested in how the map change is going to pan out. But yeah, so I would like to thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers, guys.